Hey, and welcome to Division II's SAAC's Champion for Life podcast. My name is Austin Mondello, and I'm currently a junior swimmer at Colorado Mesa University, majoring in exercise science, and I'm also a member of Division II's Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Today, I'm pleased to be talking to a former teammate of mine, Justin Fell. Justin is currently in a gap year working in assisted living, and he's planning on doing a postgraduate program within the next year. Justin, thank you for taking some time out of your day and talking to us today.
No problem.
So yeah,
let's do this for you.
Let's go right into the first question and stuff. Can you give us a little bit of background where you are professionally right now and kind of, what happened right after graduating?
I mean, I think it should be more of a question like what happened after I was done swimming, A lot of time opens up. You're in a point now where you're like, man, 2 to 3 hours of my day isn't going to be taken up by something that like I'm at school to do, so it was a good transition. And I mean, it made it like pretty easy to find a job, because being a college athlete, you are a pretty valuable applicant. So like there really wasn't a problem finding a job. But yeah, for the meantime, like I just tried to find something that was kind of catered towards what I wanted to do. So that's why I'm doing like assisted living, because it's pretty good. Like it's like you get paid for it, but it's like really good experience because the majority of people that you deal with at a hospital, are like kind of elderly and stuff like that. So it was a good transition for what I wanted to do. And I think it's just going to help me for like it helped me a lot applying to grad school. So just figuring it out. Like you have to realize like it's your life. So you just got to take it like one day at a time. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, Colorado Mesa, I know, me and you have both worked in, exercise science lab a little bit and stuff, and also worked with some really cool professors and stuff. Did you have any mentors that you kind of went to or some people that helped you guide through whether or not they were at Colorado Mesa?
I think my experience was definitely more like individualistic. So, because in my head, I guess that's just how I was raised. Like you just have to kind of figure out things for yourself. But if I can kind of like basically give shout outs to anyone, it'd probably be like, head coaches, assistant coaches, certain teammates. Mentor wise, I'd say, I don't know, maybe like a cool chemistry professor here and there, so just someone that you can kind of go into and not get more freaked out about a class. So it always felt more comforting having a professor like that. So like one of my old chemistry professors, definitely, because it's a hard subject and it's it requires attention to detail. So it's nice having someone to kind of go in and talk to and realize and have them tell you like, yeah, it is hard and you just have to take time and I'll help you, so but that's what's always good about having professors like that.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think our chemistry department's awesome. I've loved the professors and the classes that I've taken there and stuff. And, it's some hard classes, but in reality, if you're working hard in some of those classes and putting in some time, those guys can give back really well. And so I'm glad you said that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. So take me through maybe a pro and con list of, taking a little bit of time before going to your postgraduate school. I know, it's really hard just going straight into school. And so yeah, maybe some pros and cons of that.
I mean, it kind of just depends on what you major in college and what you want to do,
Right.
With what I want to do medicine, there's a certain like application cycle. I mean, there's an application cycle for anything because like nowadays, I think, especially if you're an athlete, like if you can go and get your master's somewhere, I definitely recommend it depending on what you're doing. If you can find a great job coming out of your bachelor's, then great. But I think it'd definitely be wise for most people to kind of get their master's. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of time to think. There's a lot of time to kind of evaluate the next 5 to 10 years of your life, basically. I mean, for what I want to do, it's like going to be like 5 to 10 years, basically. So it's a lot more schooling. So it definitely gave me a lot of time to think about like the amount of work that's going to go in, that like it's going to get harder year, like by year, So And I guess like kind of more of a con, like having that time to think does kind of rationalize your mind a little bit and kind of makes you think like maybe there's a career path that could be kind of quicker to go down. So yeah, like once again, just having that time to think, like it just kind of like having too much time on your hands can kind of be like, it can be good and it can be bad, because you can get kind of bored, and being like an athlete, you're used to doing a lot throughout your day. So I think like most athletes kind of go into things pretty quick because they're just used to like a faster paced lifestyle. So, but there's nothing wrong with taking a little bit more time.
Yeah, I agree. Remind me which postgraduate you're thinking of going to, which program?
I want to. It's like an accelerated nurse practitioner thing. So you get your doctorate in nurse practitioning. So
Okay.
it's like a year, 3-year RN, and then you work in an ICU for 1 to 2 years, and then you go into CRNA school, which is like you're certified registered nurse anesthetic. So you just put people to sleep before surgery. So it's a chill job, but just unfortunately with medicine, it's a lot of schooling and qualifications and licensing. So.
Awesome. So taking part of that and stuff, and taking part of your experience, I want you to kind of focus a little bit onto that, medical field here. What aspects of, athletics in swimming you think, or, athletics in previous experience transition really well to your STEM field here, right? And so in your medical schooling or some jobs, what things or characteristics of athletics have been really helpful maybe?
Definitely patience,
Yeah.
patience plays a big part of medicine, because I'm used to those little kids that are 4 years old screaming, kicking around, because I've taught swim lessons, like I'm used to the parents screaming at me because I've been like a coach, and I've also taught at swim lessons, and like just being a swimmer too, and like having coaches. And I don't know, I think being in athletics, like how much discipline it gives you, but this is strictly just from perspective because I'm a swimmer. But I mean, a sport where you're training 45 plus weeks out of the year, you're definitely going to learn some discipline. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it just really comes along with like respect for people who are higher than you, because a lot of medicine is like, no matter where you start, it's straight up hierarchical bias. You always have someone above you, unless you're like a hospital administrator, but at that point, I think you probably still have someone above you. But yeah, you learn a lot about respect and like kind of knowing your place and knowing what you're good at, knowing what you're not good at, kind of reaching out for help. Because that's, swimming, I take that from experience. Like I said, I used to be a coach, and you have swimmers asking you about like proper technique stuff. Like, this too, being a coach and stuff, being a fellow swimmer and stuff like that. You're just trying to do whatever you can to try and perfect your craft and get better at what you care about, So it comes along with your career too, because it's something that makes you money. It's something that you kind of have to care about. So yeah, I mean, you just learn the team atmosphere. You kind of learn to deal with people. You learn to deal with people that you really like, and you learn how to deal with people that you unfortunately just cannot see eye to eye with, but you still have to be locked in a room with, basically. So
Right. Yeah. Getting along with some of those people. I'll tell you, me and you got really similar experiences and stuff, with not only being on a large swim team, with 75 plus people on there, and also coaching, finding ways to motivate people and finding ways to challenge your teammates and challenge maybe your swimmers, and really get them to have fun and work well with you is sometimes the hardest part, right? It really doesn't matter like the swimming or the weight workout or the technique. It's like, okay, how do I motivate these people, right? And so I love that you said that. It's perfect. So maybe moving on, what are some challenges that you might have experienced while working to your degree, your undergrad, that correlated to maybe some on-field challenges or solutions? So kind of moving maybe away from the athletics part, and some stuff that you might have learned in your class. What are some stuff you're applying right now with assisted living?
to be honest with you, like I apply maybe a handful of things based off the knowledge that I learned in like science classes and anything else in college. Like very, very like not few, but not as much as I will be later on, you know? So like I'll give you a story and I don't think I'm not violating HIPAA information because it's just like I'm just gonna tell you a story about like someone. It was a and then it was just like, you know, just not like saved his life, you know, but definitely helped the guy out because he was a man, older man, and he was just having a bunch of breathing problems and kind of sounded like he was spitting up a bunch of stuff. And I just remember from one class, you know, it was just this weird day that I just asked this weird question about a professor. I was just like, it was a question about pneumonia. And I was just like, is there a way where like an elderly person can kind of, because I've noticed like, because I've worked like assisted living before. And the thing you kind of notice is like a lot of people breathe really weirdly because they need help. It's like a very labored breath. So it sounds like they're constantly like spitting stuff up and like, you know, basically like inhaling it back in. So I just told one of the nurses to like check it out, and it turned out he had like a really bad version of like aspiration pneumonia. So that was cool. I mean, like that was just like that could have happened to anybody, but like it was just kind of a freak incident that made me think like, oh, you know, like paying attention that one day like did some good, you know.
That's cool that you get to look back at a little story. You know, it's weird how we remember little bits and pieces of a class that we found interesting or that we asked a question. And, you know, a lot of it kind of goes over our head and you might need to review it. And I'm sure you'll review it once you start school up again, right? You know, that's going to be a whole nother animal and applying that background information. But I like that you said that, you know, your job kind of makes you think maybe a little bit more practically, like,
Yeah.
okay, how do I, you know, problem solve maybe, right? Would you say problem solving is something that is used a lot, maybe in athletics or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a bunch of different minds kind of clashing at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
causes a lot of problems when like I don't know, basically like a bunch of people are feeling the emotions of what it means to be a swimmer, you know, how much you got to train. So there's a lot of frustrations and emotions that can be like tossed at someone in leadership, you know. But I mean, that's normal. People feel how they feel. But yeah, there is a lot of problem solving involved with being on a, you know, in a team atmosphere and kind of doing athletics and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. So this one's going to be a really funny question, but was there ever a time that you had some doubts about ability to complete your degree, or even now, thinking forward and stuff? And what are some ways you kind of overcame that? And I'll tell a real quick story to everyone. You know, I'll see Justin in the library a lot, and so especially this past year, he was doing organic chem, and I was like, him and Breck, another guy on our team, shout out Breck, I guess. But both doing organic chem and spending some really long hours in the library. And I'm taking that class this year. But it's one of those things. It's like I'm sure multiple times you guys felt the pressure and stress of that class. It's just a hard class, but really I saw you guys just working together really well, and both two swimmers and both awesome, hardworking guys. So maybe some of those challenges, describe some of those challenges and how you kind of persevered, even with athletics and school and other classes, you know?
Man, I think anybody who's a STEM major that hasn't ever doubted completing their degree is not really a STEM major, you know? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I at one point, you know, because it's not a challenge. It's not hard. It's not, you're not, because in a way, like you, with the STEM degree and any degree, you know, like you earn that degree, you do the work, like you put in the man hours and stuff like that. And you like, you perform how you need to perform. And I don't know now. That you like, now that you reference OChem, I remember just, yeah, there were some man hours put into that class, Breck and I, especially just studying for those exams. So anybody watching this taking OChem right now, just be patient, you know,
Right.
just head down, stay in your own lane. Like if somebody tells you you're doing something wrong, go ask the professor. Do not ask them.
It's a good way to check yourself. I agree.
Yeah. If the professor is showing you the right way to do it, then he can't tell you that you're wrong on a test if you do it the way that they showed you, you know?
I got you. And that leads, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said protect your neck, you know, protect your neck in college.
I agree. And that really leads really well into one of our last questions. If you could give, a piece of advice to some athletes and STEM majors right now across the country, what would that be, or what would be some maybe helpful tips that really helped you get in through your undergrad?
Um, Keep in mind that it's your life, whether like what your parents say, what your coaches say, what your friends say, like bottom line is it's your life. Stick to what you want to do. Being in athletics as well is also a personal choice, but don't take advantage of that, because you're in a position of where you are because you're good at something. And it gives you a massive advantage on a pool of applicants that you're going to face in the future if you do possess the want and like need to go to some sort of graduate school or like postgraduate school, So yeah, I mean, just be careful. Don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
But it is kind of relative, I guess you won't know it's stupid until it actually happens.
Yeah, you learn a lot from
Yeah.
freshman to senior year. I think there's a big curve there, and you mature as a person, right? So
Experiences, the bad ones and the good ones,
Right. Yeah, I mean, anything else that you think you would like to add about maybe maybe some good motivation for those, maybe in a gap year the same way as you right now, getting ready for school within the next year. What's some good motivation to keep your mind, in track and stay focused on what you're trying to do?
Like I said, don't listen to anybody except yourself, but consider the opinions of people around you. Care about other people, care about yourself.
Yeah, taking care of yourself. That's something that athletes, I think, have a hard time with. They're like, okay, I got to do this. I got to stay organized. I got to go from one task to the next. And I'm always moving. I'm always rolling. And I think, your me time kind of comes last, right? And focusing on yourself.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the older you get, the less time you kind of have to yourself. And
yeah.
I mean, it just comes with working and just comes with life, you're kind of just, you're like a evolving stress ball, basically. So
Yeah.
depending on what you can do, it just kind of, it's a subjective matter on how many hits you can take, so.
Right. And gotta find ways to de-stress. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like you said, there's always ways to enjoy life. You just got to find what you like to do, I can tell y'all like how I find happiness and things, but I mean, it's really just kind of a subjective opinion at some point, you gotta find what really makes you happy, because whether or not you were on like a sports team and it wasn't like an individual sport necessarily, like you were on your own in a way, at some point. So.
Right. Well, Colorado does a good job of keeping us busy.
They do.
And it's awesome just going out and enjoying the environment. And so
lots of stuff to do.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you, Justin, again for your time today. And thank you for the audience for tuning in to this episode of Champions for Life. Be lookout on the next episode coming soon. And, we hope to hear from everyone soon. And thank you.